Thank you all very much for joining us this evening. The Society only exists and only thrives because of the engagement of its members. So thank you very much for coming along this evening to the 2021 AGM. My name's Don Brown. I'm the director of the Society and can always be reached on director@londonsociety.org.uk should you have any questions. We've got, well, I suppose, a relatively straightforward AGM this evening, and we shall start that in a second. I'll just wait for the last few people to come in and get everything to work. If there are any issues, please raise a hand in Zoom. We don't have chat working in Zoom. We do have the Q&As working, so if you do have a question for me or any of the participants or on anything that you hear, do please put something in the Q&A. You will find that if you're on a computer, and I think on an iPad, down at the bottom of the screen on the right, you can enter a Q&A there. We may answer them online, or we may read them out according to whether it's a general or a specific question, but everyone can see your question that you ask. So if a number of people find that something that needs asking, do please sort of upweight the question. You can put a little thumbs up on it, or you can use the raise the hand function, and that is just next to the Q&A button, and in which case Rowena, who is doing, as usual, all the hard work behind the scenes, will enable your microphone at some point so you can ask that question. There are a few votes. We need to vote on various things this evening, and there will be an online polling. So in just the same way as last year, we will open the poll and there'll be 30 seconds or so. Last year we didn't need 30 seconds for everyone to vote, but there'll be a number of votes as we go along. So if you just bear with me for a second, and I will start this PowerPoint. And just to kick off, I don't know if everyone saw this on our Facebook page or on our YouTube channel and the other places that it exists. We also put it on the website, but we have here, if we can click through to it, a little video we made. In fact, let me just stop that for a second. And, remember to click the button to share sound, otherwise you will see everyone talking and not be able to hear anything. So there we go. And apologies for that. Off we go again.
Has London ever experienced the level of upheaval, complexity, and unknown that we face today? Pandemic, Brexit, climate change, housing crisis, privilege. Will things ever go back to normal? Or will this perfect storm have brought about profound and permanent change?
These are things we at the London Society are focusing on in 2021. Be it short or long lasting, this will be a year of change. We invite you to join us as we explore what change looks like for living, for working, how we commute, and how we meet.
Is it evolution or revolution? How does now compare to previous times of profound change? And what opportunities do we have to bring about the change we want? The London Society was formed in 1912 to engage in a critical debate about design, architecture, and planning in the capital. Now, in the 21st century, we continue the legacy as a member-supported charity with a mission to value the past while looking to the future.
Get involved in this year of change. Get involved in the London Society.
So yes, thank you to all the people who were involved in putting that together. Lucy Smith over at HTA, Daryl and his team at Hawkins Brown, and all of that was done for us for free. So we're incredibly grateful for the hard work that was put into that, and the coverage that has subsequently got. So moving on to the agenda of the meeting, apologies for absence. We will list those that we've received in the minutes when they come out. Two committee members have sent apologies, Martha Gracchus and Nick Mackay. We have others from members, and as I say, we shall list those when we publish the minutes. The first thing we need to do is approve the minutes of last year's AGM. They've been available on the website for the last 2 weeks, so I hope you've all had a chance to look at those. So I'd just like to move to a vote to approve those, and I think Rowena will start that now. So if you could click on whether you are in favour of approving the minutes or against, and we shall see how we go. And last 10 seconds to do that. That's great. Thank you all very much. 3/4 of people voted, and 100% are in favour of doing that. So thank you all very much for that. And just a couple of matters arising from the minutes last year. Peter, in his chairman's report, will touch on the other things that we needed to do about lockdown and about COVID. It was all brand new, or relatively new, when we were doing this last July. We thought we might even be coming out of it and getting back to some sort of normality. That didn't turn out to be the case, did it? So Peter will touch a bit on that. The other is that we talked about diversity and inclusion at that meeting, and there is a report later on. The Society has set up a Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Committee, and I'll share some of the work that we've been doing there later on when we do it. So let me get rid of that, and we now hand over to Peter for his chairman's report.
Jolly good. Thank you very much, Don. And as Don mentioned, we have managed this year to actually have a really full programme of online events. And one of the benefits of that is that it has managed to increase audience. We get wider audiences, different people log in. And so we've had over 40 webinars and tours and over 3.5 people registering. So that's been a great success, and I'd really like to thank Rowena Ellims for the hard work that she's put in. She regularly puts in hard work in terms of organising physical events, but she managed to transfer us into the virtual world seamlessly, really, and that has worked very well. But we're all beginning to hanker for more physical events, and hopefully they will start soon. But we are looking at organising hybrid events where we mix virtual and real events together to get the technology right, so that we can still have that wider access of a larger audience of people who aren't able to get into the centre of London quite so easily. And we've seen a slight drop in membership, down 3%, but I think that's to be expected at a time like this. And we are generally, fairly happy with the sort of stability of the membership at the moment. But we would obviously like to see it growing up again as soon as we get out of lockdown. But we feel that we're in a very good position to do that. As I say, having established a really good virtual program and now going back into having physical events. And our annual Bannister Fletcher lecture was given by Robert Elms, the Londoner, author, and BBC presenter, and he gave a talk around cities need slums, which addressed aspects of inequality in cities and the delight of the sort of untidier aspects of London. And one of the really successful areas we've had is social media. You know, we've got 3,255 people on Twitter and nearly 1,500 on Facebook, 410 on LinkedIn, and 434 on Instagram. We can grow that, and we will grow it over the next few years, but that does help us keep our membership informed of what's going on, and is a very good way of promoting the membership more generally. And so we've produced a book of essays about what the impact of COVID has been and what the impact is likely to be. And we have produced more recently the journal under the topic of change. And the journal is one of the great delights of the society. I think all of our journals in recent years, I think, have been wonderful things to receive in the post and excellent to read. And I would really like to thank our editors, of course, Jessica Cargill-Thompson and now Helen Parton have done a really great job in bringing together a very wide range of views, which of course the society encompasses, and produces a very good-looking magazine. And of course, Lucy Smith, who you've heard mentioned before, of HTA, has been marvelous in creating the graphics and putting it together and creating such an elegant organ. Next slide. And then I shouldn't end without mentioning the all-party parliamentary group, which is chaired by Rupa Huq, MP. And this really is a sort of key part of our role in maintaining a sort of finger on the pulse of what's going on in Westminster, alerting them to issues, and we are looking to making that work a little bit more efficiently in the future, with more events and focusing more tightly perhaps on some of the key issues in London at the moment, particularly those related to the London Plan and the rather tricky relationship that the Mayor and the Secretary of State for Housing and Local Government have at the moment. We hope they can get together and start running London without slagging each other off quite so much. And then one of the really nice projects we've got coming up shortly is a writing competition, which is about love letters to London. And we're launching that in September. We're getting together a really great team of judges who are going to assess that. And this is a really nice idea that I think is going to be great in a sort of COVID recovery phase of celebrating London and how important it is as a world city, as a cultural centre. And it's something that I think really does speak for Londoners, something that actually does celebrate its significance as a global city, and something which is really important in boosting London's wide reputation as we recover from the pandemic. So I'm really looking forward to that. But I will not be actually chairman while this is all happening, because this is my last AGM. I'm standing down as chairman, and I began just over 7 years ago now. And it was a little bit longer than that when Clive Price came to see me in my office and said, "Oh, the London Society needs a bit of help." And I have to say, at that time, I wasn't too aware of what the London Society was up to. And so I wasn't quite sure whether I was going to put a lot of time into doing it. But then Mark Prizeman, who was also on the committee at the time, came to see me and said, oh, we can't let the London Society fail. And he brought along a book, which is a book there. I don't know if you can see it on the screen. London of the Future. This book was published by the Society in 1922, and it's a series of essays which sets out a whole range of really interesting ideas about the future of London. Opportunities for London, a bit like opportunity areas today, roads, streets and traffic. Again, we have that issue. Railway reconstruction, we're building new ones and reconstructing older ones. So that's still relevant. Bridges and tunnels, really still, what is happening in central London. Again, that was an essay at the time in the post-war, post-First World War, really important. Problems of the East End, governance of London, and the smoke plague, which I guess is the equivalent now of pollution today. So this I felt was just a really important book which set out the value of having a society in London made up of citizens of London that can affect and influence change. So I committed to getting the London Society back on its feet, and I've been supported by some great committees of people who have come and gone, and others who have stayed the course. And and without them, it wouldn't be possible. So I'd like to thank them very much, and also Don for his great support over the recent years as well. So it's been a great period, and I'm very pleased to leave the chairmanship, as I said, with membership stable, but I hope it'll continue to grow, finances in a pretty good place, and so I feel it's going to be in good hands, and I'm very grateful for the experience of having worked with a lot of excellent colleagues on the London Society, and learned an awful lot about London by attending lectures and the program that the Society delivers. So it's been a great experience for me, and one which I hope will inspire others in the future.
Great. Thank you very much, Peter. I've realized that while I'm sharing the screen, I can't see if there are any questions. So I'm going to stop sharing. And if anyone does have any questions for the chair, if you can put them into the Q&A now, and I shall read them out to Peter as we do it. So bear with me just a second. And let's see. Yes, are there any questions from attendees for Peter? The question from Clive that isn't about that, which I shall answer in a second when we come to that part of it. Right, no, okay. Right, no questions for Peter. I'm going to, of course, we couldn't let Peter go without saying a few words. So I'm going to hand over to Daryl Chen now, one of our trustees, and he will hopefully say something nice about Peter. We shall just, these are some photos from the relaunch, which is 6 or 7 years ago, and Peter networking like crazy as usual, which he's done on behalf of the Society for the last 7 years. But over to you, Daryl.
Yeah, thanks, Don. Thanks, Peter. I have the honor of providing some words marking the occasion of Peter's handing on the baton of the chair of the London Society, and in doing so reflect on a remarkable period of the Society's history, which itself is but one part of a remarkable and illustrious career. You've heard something just there of the back history of Peter's involvement in the Society, and so I'm going to present some words prepared, partly prepared by Clive Price, a former trustee and crucial part of the 21st century London Society story. It was just after the centenary year of the Society that it was due to be wound up and its assets merged with the Heritage of London Trust. And whilst that is an admirable organisation in its own right, the aims and objectives of the Heritage of London Trust were far more limited than those of the Society. The situation had been brought about by the inability of the Society to renew its trustee board, and the relevant motion was actually approved at the 2013 AGM. Now, the chairman at the time, Frank Kelsall, gave Clive a mandate to try to organise a new trustee board, and it should not be underestimated the role Clive had in activating this process. So a big thank you to Clive. Through the good offices of Neil Bennett, this led to a meeting with Peter Murray and Nick McKeough at Store Street in October 2013. Like most Londoners at the time, Peter was not previously aware of the Society, but he was made aware through that amazing Future of London publication, and through the activities being explained by Clive and others. Notwithstanding his many existing commitments, Peter offered to chair a regenerated society, and through his extensive contacts was able in fairly short order to produce an impressive list of potential trustees from architecture, planning, business, and the arts. He followed this up with a new manifesto and 10-point plan to be offered to members. After due process, the new trustee board was voted in at a special general meeting held at the offices of the Grosvenor Estate in January 2014, and so the new London Society was born. Peter then led a year of intense work to promote and digitize the Society and build up membership. This involved, among much else, creation of a new corporate style, new website, reconstituted database, and a fresh events calendar. In 2015, with much of the initial spade work completed, Peter oversaw the appointment of a new post of director of the Society in order to professionalize the ongoing development of administrative and promotional work. The fact that we are here today with a thriving society, notwithstanding 2 years of COVID, owes much to the foresight and hard work of Peter Murray. I'm also more than pleased, as are many within the community of people working in London, that Peter received an OBE and cited the citation of which was for his leadership in the arts, architecture, city planning, design, publication, and charity. I've personally been inspired to work alongside him in the committee, where I valued his wisdom, critique, and practical know-how gained from long years working in the field with all manner of visionaries, freethinkers, egotists, and otherwise prickly characters. He continues to bring astonishing foresight to his activities, a finger on the pulse, as well as the benefit of considerable hindsight of career that has so far spanned, I believe, 5 decades. Thereby one of the most appropriate people I can think of to have honored the Society's aims to value the past while looking to the future. And it is to the future that we turn when welcoming Leanne to the fold, but not before wishing Peter the very best, and as well a heartfelt thank you from every member of the Society.
That's great. Thank you very much, Daryl, and second all of that, and also thanks very much to Clive Price for a lot of the preparatory work in that as well. We do hope to have a quote summer party later this year. It'll be a late summer party sometime in September, so I hope as many of you as possible will be able to join us then, and we shall raise a glass of something fizzy to Peter at that point. And we do only have a London Society today because of the work that Peter has done in the last 7 years, and we can see the health of the Society now when I hand over to Barry Coyden, who is the Honorary Treasurer of the Society, and he's going to talk us through the 2020 accounts.
I'm still on mute.
Nope, we can hear you.
Oh, brilliant. Good, excellent. Good evening, everyone. after that, after Peter, you've got the not boring stuff, but the less exciting stuff. You should have been able to view the online the draft copy of accounts. Stuart Edwards, our accountant, has given us a clean bill of health. Given how 2020 has turned out, it may come as a surprise that at the end of the year, we're in the black, and even more so than in 2019. Lockdown for us didn't mean shutting down. It meant doing what we normally do, talks, visits, lectures, etc., in the flesh, and taking them online. We have all come to know how to Zoom. Nevertheless, lockdown for most of 2020 had a significant impact on our income. The revenue from talks, etc., was dramatically reduced, but going online meant that our costs were also reduced significantly. As you've been hearing, subscription income has held up, although membership numbers fell, not by 3%, but that would offset by the previous year's increase in membership fees feeding into 2020. Also, corporate donations held up due to an increase in individual donation rates from £1,000 to £1,250, which offset a reduction in the number of corporate owners. We furloughed our part-time administrator, Jane, in March because she was unable to work from our offices in Mortimer Wheeler House, but also from home. Her work was then shared by the rest of the team. Our investment income remains steady. As I already mentioned, being forced to go online meant the cost of organising, running visits, etc., fell significantly. Also, we couldn't have a summer party last year, so that reduced our costs. Hopefully we'll have one later this year. These reductions are reflected in the fall in events and other costs. And the increase in admin reflects an increase in directors' fees, as well as paying more for Rowena. There was also a one-off cost, Jane's redundancy payment when she left us in October. Lockdown enabled us to reduce our costs substantially, but one wonders what might have happened had 2020 been virus-free. We operate on a knife edge. I don't think it would take much to wipe out any surplus. Lower than expected income from visits, etc., and higher than expected cost of venues and operating the events could make life slightly uncomfortable. However, we are a long-established and respected society, and 2020 has shown how we can adapt and survive. Yet we can do more than just survive. Opening up later this month gives us the opportunity to grow, innovate, and spread the word. We love London. Join us. If anyone has any questions on the financial details, I'll be happy to.
Let me go back into the questions to stop sharing that.
Thank you.
And are there any questions for Barry, for the Honorary Treasurer, to on the accounts? If you either put them into the Q&A or raise your hand, and we shall try and. How many members do we have? Joe East, as there are just over 900 at the moment. I think I was looking at it earlier on today, 939 current members on the site. In what was it, 18 months, 2 years ago, we hit 1,000. As we said, we've lost a few since then, particularly in terms of renewals. People are feeling slightly less comfortable perhaps about money going forward until they know what's going to happen with the economy. So we've lost a few members since then, but yeah, 930, 940 as of 3 o'clock this afternoon. Any more questions from people? No. In which case we shall move to a vote on the on accepting the accounts. We need a proposer. Oops, yep, sorry, Rowena, if you could stop that, and we shall do that again in a second. So we need a proposer. If someone could raise their hand or put into the Q&A that they're prepared to propose that we accept the accounts. Is there anyone who can? Yep, we've got someone who has raised their hand. Joe East has proposer, and could someone therefore raise their hand or put into the Q&A that they're happy to second the motion that we accept the accounts, if we could do that now. And Richard Morse, brilliant, thank you very much. And thank you very much. Rowena, yes, back to you. If you can launch that, that particular poll for us, we shall now vote on approving the draft accounts for the year ending 31st of December. So another 10 seconds. 6 people still to vote, should they wish to. Okay, so of 39 members, 35 in favour. Let me just share the results. You've already shared them. 35 in favour and 1 against. So thank you very much for that. There will be another poll in a second. We just go back to sharing the screen, bopping around all over the place on this. So we have now done that. So we need to vote on electing an independent examiner of the accounts. For the last 7 years, these have been done by Stuart Edwards of Stuart Edwards and Co, a small firm. We get a very personal service from Stuart. I know I speak for Barry that Stuart has always been very responsive to questions, has helped us out enormously in terms of helping the work on the account, on getting gift aid, and last year when we were getting the furlough money from the government, and Stuart has provided a great deal of help and assistance to us over the last few years, and we would recommend that we continue with his role as the independent examiner to the society. So that is the next motion. So again, if I could have a proposer for that motion. If someone would put their hand up. Oh, we've got a couple of people. Eric Sorensen will propose, and Sally Phillips will second. So let me just make a note of that for the minutes. Yep, Rowena, if you could kick off with the next vote to elect an independent examiner of accounts. If you could all cast your vote now, please. Another 10 seconds for the last couple of people who may want to vote. And that's that. So 36 of 39, so no votes against, so that is carried unanimously. So thank you all very much on that. A few more votes coming up. Wouldn't be an AGM without a few votes. So just share those results with you all, and just close the window here as a huge great bumblebee flies in and disturbs me. So let's try and get rid of that. So I will go back to sharing the screen, and oops, sorry, my there we go. Apologies. The subsequent to the AGM last year and discussions we've had in the past about the diversity of the society, how well does the society reflect the makeup of London? I mean, there is a thing to be said that if the society is to represent London, then we need to reflect the population of London. And so there has been a diversity and inclusion subcommittee formed from members of the executive committee, which has met remotely on several occasions. One of the things that we have done is to poll the membership, to conduct a survey, and thank you to those of you who did respond to that survey earlier on this year. I think we sent it out in March. Of 800 questionnaires sent out, over 200 came back, and we thank you for that. It's our intention to carry on doing this each year so that we are able to track the changes that there may be in the membership of the society and the attendees at our events. Just some of the headline figures that we have here. As one might expect from a membership society, the age profile is older than that of the general population. We have half our members who are over 65, or half the members who responded to the questionnaire who are over 65. We aren't in any great pursuit of youth, but we do want to involve younger people in the running of the society and the society's event. You may notice that recently we've had a couple of talks where we have been looking at the next generation's attitudes to the workplace, or to London, or to the built environment itself, and we hope to carry that forward. We're also talking to some of the organizations that work with younger people. One of the things about Zoom and about hybrid events as we go forward is that we can open up the events that we do to a much wider range of people, and therefore get a broader profile of people coming along. One of the other aspects of it is that we are two-thirds male in terms of the membership at the moment. We have, over the past few years, only had a policy of not having male-only panels when we are having panel discussions or debates, and trying to have a better gender balance amongst speakers, and that is something that we wish to continue as well. Some of that gender balance reflects, I suppose, the historical aspects of the built environment profession. There are a lot more male architects, there are a lot more male planners, and the London Society's membership is a mix of lay members and professional members. So it is perhaps not a huge surprise that there is a a bias in the membership at the moment in terms of men rather than women. But again, this is something that we want to work on over the next several years to try and get this balance to 50-50. We have also did a asked people on their race demographics, the ones that the census has. We are predominantly a membership of white members, 95%, as compared to the last census, which gave the white population of London at about 60%. So again, we are looking to engage more closely with organizations, with schools, with individuals from the BAME community, and we hope to change this pattern over the next next year and moving forward from that as well. We have also looked at disabilities. We asked people about disabilities. The Office for National Statistics gives the proportion of the population that consider themselves to have a disability to be about 20%. So again, we are underrepresented there. We will be looking at the events we run. We will be looking at the accessibility to the events we do, both on Zoom and on the actual real life events that we start running to make sure that we hopefully are adequately covering this. And again, we hope to see some improvement there. And in terms of sexual orientation, the Office for National Statistics says that 93% of people consider themselves to be heterosexual or straight, and the society is slightly less than that. So we are perhaps slightly in advance of society in general in terms of the membership composition. As I say, we will be looking to improve these figures, and by improve I mean make the membership more representative of London as a whole, and we are actively working behind the scenes on that. I mentioned that we no longer have all male panels. We have had an unofficial policy for the last 18 months that we would not have either all male or all white panels, and that second thing will become an official policy as we go forward, part of the briefing notes for the people who put together talks for us. So we hope to be increasing the involvement of the whole range of communities that there are in London. One of the strengths of London is its diversity, and if the London society can gain some of that diversity and gain some of that strength, it will only be to the society's advantage. So if anybody's got any questions or comments on that, if you want to pop those into so yes, someone's made a very good point. Pie charts are meaningless to people who are colorblind, although I think the colors chosen were chosen to be as visible to most people with the most common color blindness. So we shall publish up the ones in black and white or with bar charts so that they are more obvious to people. And so that's been done. And Pam Alexander says we have an age profile older than National Trust members. Have you thought of a youth panel which would bring in more women, more non-white people, and lots of energy? Yes, that is one of the things that we are working on. As we co-opted onto the Diversity and Inclusion Committee that we had, someone to who is younger, in their early 20s, with connections through to student groups and so on, in order to bring those forward. And we are working quite hard at the moment in involving younger groups in, because, as Pam says, the diversity of young London is even more so than of London as a whole. And we hope that by getting younger people involved in the society, with the representation of the different communities is improved, and also that we do get some of that extra energy that comes in. Although Joe East says less than a third of members replied. So yes, it is not a survey that has been done to the high standards of a polling company, but 25% or more of the society did respond. We shall see what we can do to encourage more responders next year. So when next year the survey does appear in your inbox, please do respond to it. So let's get rid of those. Any more questions on that? No, great. Well, we shall now move on to electing some of the people, so that traditionally we have an election of all of the presidents and vice presidents as a list, and these are they. They have been in station for a few years, since the society was reconstituted. A couple of people have dropped out over the last 2 or 3 years, but this is the list of presidents and vice presidents. I will see if I can get nominations from you. So again, if people could raise their hands to propose that we elect the president and vice president list. Terence Bendixson proposes, and a seconder, if someone could raise a hand to second that. And Helen Parton seconding. Great. And yes, Rowena, if you could trigger the poll to vote for the president and vice president. So please vote now. So another 10 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. So, yep, that's passed unanimously on that. 29 of you voting in favour. Sorry, just make a note for the minutes. And the next vote will be on electing 2 new trustees. You may remember that in 2020 we passed a motion so that terms are now for 2 years, hence there only being 2 people standing for election this year as new trustees. we have one trustee standing down. Martha Grekos is standing down as a honorary secretary and as a trustee, and I shall come back to that in a second. So we have two new trustees to vote for. Alpa has been working as a co-opted member for the Society for most of the last year, and has been very involved with what we're doing. Leanne is going to be up to be elected as the new chair. So we thought it's probably a good idea to vote her onto the committee before that happened. So I will ask for, again, if I could have a proposer for the two new people. So Robert Fine, thank you very much. And a seconder, please. Neil Bennett to second. And again, Rowena, if you could please put up the vote to elect Alpa and Leanne as trustees of the Society and members of the committee. That's great. Another 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Great. Well, thank you very much. And again, that was unanimous. And let's go to that. And so the next thing is about the new chair, and we are nominating Leanne Tritton to take over as chair from Peter, and I think Peter would like to say a few words first. I'll just hand back to Peter Murray again.
Great, thank you very much, Don. Yeah, just a few words, because you can see a bit about Leanne's CV in front of you. I've known Leanne for just over 20 years now and worked with her professionally, known her socially. And as it says there, she runs Ing Media, which is now the nation's leading media company, communications and public relations for the built environment. So she knows the topics we're dealing with very well. She's also super well connected and really very the appropriate person to have taking over from me, I think, in terms of driving the society on to newer pastures, perhaps a wider audience, and I have every confidence that she can do a really great job in doing that. So I don't know if I'm allowed to propose her, am I, Don? But
yes, yes, you certainly are.
If I am, then if I'm allowed to, I will. So I would propose Leanne Tritton as the new chair of the London Society. And
if I could have a seconder, Casper de Graaf has put his hand up to be a seconder. So if we could move to a vote on that, that would be great. If Rowena could bring that up to elect Leanne Tritton as chair of the London Society, in favour or indeed against. So another 10 seconds for last couple of people. Great. Well, again, very pleased to say that that is passed unanimously. So I'd like to hand over to our new chair, Leanne Tritton, to say a couple of words.
Thank you very much, Don, and thank you to everyone for the vote. It could have been extremely awkward because the announcement that I was going to become chair was put out a couple of weeks ago, and I've been sort of had a knot in my stomach thinking that I could have been hugely embarrassed by the membership voting against. But first of all, thank you to Peter. I've worked, as Peter says, we've worked together for a very long time, and you know, I have no sort of rose-coloured glasses as to the size and scope of the challenge we've got, and also taking over from Peter, who's done an amazing job. If I can just tell you a few things about myself. I was born in Australia. I'm now British. I'm a British citizen, but I moved to London in 1995, and I love London. I always have. I sort of was in love with London before I even came here, because it was evocative in my mind. And of course, I thought it was all about Piccadilly and Hyde Park, but ended up living in Hackney, which is a very different experience. And I've fallen in love with many, many parts of the city. And as Peter said, and Donna said, I run a PR and communications agency that specialises in the built environment. And one of the frustrations I've had over the years is that our sector of architects and engineers and property developers and lots of good people who really do want to do good things in London, we rarely talk to the public. And I was one of the public before I got involved in this sector. You know, I would describe myself as an intelligent layperson. And what's very exciting about the London Society is that many, many people across London are interested in what's happening. And I think they're interested in a more considered way than sometimes the sort of consultation process allows us to participate in. So I'm really looking forward to the challenge. I really want to obviously expand the membership and also help it diversify, just so that people understand how great the society is and what is open to them in terms of learning and understanding about what's happening in our city. The other thing I would say is I think the best way of gaining membership is more and even better events than we already have. And that is going to cost money, because what I've learned in the last month is that Don and Rowena work incredibly hard on very limited resources. And to do more, we need more support from them, either to buy more of their time or other people's time to help us put on other events. So I will be looking at sponsorship and trying to find other forms of income. And but I think we've already had some very good feedback. I mean, the Love Letters campaign, which I think was started by Barry, has just shown where I think the letters went out immediately. There were responses from sponsors saying they want to get involved in that program, which is really wonderful. So I'm really looking forward to working with you and meeting you in real life when the time is right. Again, I'm incredibly impressed. I mean, an AGM on a Monday evening, 45 people turning up. It's very clear to me that you really love the London Society and really care about it. So I hope I can do you justice. I think it's also interesting, Casper de Graaf, who was just sort of mentioned there. I work with Casper professionally, and we work on a program with the key cities around London. And one of the things I think that has happened over the last couple of years is people have enjoyed pitting Londoners against the rest of the country. And I think that certainly doesn't need to happen. I think London is a great place for all people around the UK. You can love London wherever you live. So I'm looking forward to working with other cities as well to show off how great we are. So that's me, and thank you very much for putting your trust in me.
Great, thank you very much, Leanne. And yes, as we mentioned earlier, we will be having, the plan is to have a late summer party in late September, and where we shall toast Peter, and thank him very much for his work over the last few years, and welcome Leanne. So more details on that as we put it together over the summer. We are also going to be starting to have some actual real life events. We've got some walks and visits and tours. Rowena has been working very hard on putting those together. So a couple of those are already on the website, and there are going to be more added over the next few weeks. So now that we are allowed to get back out again, we will be getting back out again, but we will also be bearing in mind that many people will not wish to do that, and therefore will continue with the hybrid event in the autumn once we figure out how to do it. But we achieved Zoom webinars last year. We can achieve hybrid events as well, so watch this space. Just a couple of final things. First of all, just to declare the co-opted committee members, these are not trustees. They work on some of the subcommittees that we've got. Jonathan Manns works on the APPG, our all-party parliamentary group, helping put that together and helping the efficiency of that. They've been working very hard on the suburban task force this year, and a report on that is due later on this year. Freddie Mardlin has been on our diversity and inclusion committee, and is the person responsible for helping us reach out to some student groups and younger people, as we discussed earlier on. We are always looking for volunteers for other tasks, and this doesn't have to be someone who, if you're interested in helping us out, this isn't, the time commitment can be as flexible as it needs to be. You may be able to help out on 1 or 2 events for us, for example. We always need that. You may have more time to give. You may have a specific interest or specific areas of expertise that you could help with. We are always delighted for people who can give us any time at all. And if you do feel you are able to help, director@londonsociety.org.uk, do drop me a line and we can see what we can do. We are in need of an honorary secretary. So if any of you feel able, you may have experience of being the ONSEC of charities, you may have a legal background, you may just have time that you wish to spend in helping us keep on top of official paperwork, is the essential part of it. It is not a hugely onerous task, but it is a necessary one for the society. If you feel able to help us on that, again, director@londonsociety.org.uk, we would be delighted to hear from you. One final thing, hand over to any other business. I will stop the screen share again, and if there is any other business, if you could put that into the Q&A, and we shall see how that, see if anyone has got any more questions for us or any comments, anything else that you want to raise either on this evening or on other things that have been discussed. So no, nothing coming through so far. So in which case I will say thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your votes. It's just, oops, yeah. And thank you for coming, and hope to see you all at a future event. There are plenty on the website at the moment. Do please get in touch if you do have any thoughts or have got any questions that you didn't want to raise within the confines of the AGM. Do please drop us a line and we will answer them as best we can. But started slightly late, finished slightly late. So I wish you all a very good evening, and we'll see you all again soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.